Hey everyone, Bob Thibodeau here. Welcome to another episode of the Ask Bob podcast. Now, this is where we answer your questions about podcasting. Now, we're talking right now about what kind of podcast formats are the most popular. Yesterday, we talked about the one-on-one podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about the solo commentary podcast. This is probably the easiest type of podcast you can put together. It's basically the format I'm using right now for this podcast, Ask Bob. It may be the easiest to do, but is also a lot harder to accomplish. That sounds like a weird contradictory of statements, doesn't it? Well, many people are not able to do this kind of podcast because you actually have to be able to carry on a conversation with other people, even though you're not talking to anybody at the time. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm talking to you. Even though you're not here with me at the time I'm doing the recording, I'm talking to a computer screen. I still need to be talking to you. Some podcasters will write out the script and guide the conversation, okay? I understand their need to do that. That's okay. But you need to be skillful enough to read it without sounding like you're reading it. Nobody wants to listen to you just read a script on the air. That's more like an audio book, right? Personally, I do type out notes. I'm using them right now to guide my conversation with you. That way I don't waste time trying to remember, did I cover that? No, I don't want to do that. So I don't want to waste your time or my time trying to remember to talk about something or to mention something I wanted to share but forgot about. So you have to be careful in doing this. Do not make it seem like you are only reading. Like this is the next most popular method of doing a podcast. When you do a solo conversational type of podcast, you need to be sure that you are not reading a script, because it will sound like you're reading a script. See the difference? You have to be able to carry on a conversation, folks. That's the whole purpose in podcasting, is a conversation. And even if you are doing this as a solo gig, you're the only one doing the talking, you're still talking to somebody. Now, right now I'm on camera, so I'm talking on the video itself. This is also loaded to an audio format, so the people listening on audio have to feel I am talking to you as well, and I am. But the people on video, they can actually more or less through the video make eye contact with me. I'm not looking off, reading a book while I'm talking to you or anything like that. I am making contact with you through the camera because that's the proper way of carrying on conversation, okay? Now, the best thing about the solo podcast is you can talk about whatever your passion is. I can guarantee you somebody out there is interested in the same topic you are passionate about as well. It could be car repair. It could be golf. It could be landscaping. It could be crafts. The topics are endless, but somebody out there has the same exact passion you do. They want to hear what you have to say. All right. So this is a good method of starting your podcast. And you could grow it into interviews. You could have your solo gig and you are just talking 95% of the time. It's just you talking about your passion. But then you come across someone who's passionate just like you are, and you invite them to be a guest on your podcast. Now you're doing an interview style. So you don't have to stick with what you're doing, okay? It can be adapted. But the thing is, whatever it is, do it. Whatever your passion is, talk about it, because somebody wants to hear what you have to say. Now, next time we're going to be talking the third type, which is panel discussions. Now, if you find these videos helpful, help me out. Give us a comment and a rating down below, because it helps social media to advertise for us and it helps people to find us. And I want to thank you in advance for helping me to get the word out about this podcast. Of course, over the course of these videos and articles, I want to answer any questions you may have concerning podcasting. You can leave your questions and comments in the section down below, but a better way to make sure I see them rapidly is to use our contact form over on the website at podcast-trading.com/contact, or just go to the website and click the contact button up in the top menu. Right? If your question is used on this podcast, I'll give you credit for bringing it to our attention, and you will receive a free download of my book, The Complete Guide to Podcasting. It's a $37 book. You want to buy it? It's $37. I'm going to give it to you free just for asking a question about podcasting. And you use it, and it'll help you grow your podcast. All right. But you have to ask the question in order to get the free book. And if I use your question on the podcast, we'll put it like that, you could ask something totally off the wall. How many stars are there? So it has to be related to podcasting on the Ask Bob program. So if you include your website and your podcast information, I'll reference that down the show notes as well down below. People can click right through to your website, your podcast, your product offer, whatever it is you want to share with them. I will help promote whatever it is you want. Who knows? You could see some increased traffic from that as well. So if you have a question, don't wait and just ask today. Go to the website, podcast-training.com/contact. Fill out the contact form, ask your question, and send it on in. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast in order to be notified when a new episode is being published and a new question is being answered. All right? So we'll talk to you next time as we discuss the panel discussion. Until then, remember, keep talking. You're awesome.